Hey folks, and welcome. Now, this is a regular review episode. We've been experimenting, and that's what I'm going to talk about. Experimentation. Anticipation, expectations, delivering, undermining, over-analyzing, just projecting an excellent, executed, well-rounded effort. That's all the stuff that goes into a project. Now, experimentation, is like, well, it's scientific. It's a bit of fun. It's a learning curve. It's progress to process, and at the end of a cycle, you analyze it. You test, like you put yourself to the test on something. That's what we've done. We're testing ourselves. We're testing to see how far we can get after coming and getting to the point we're at now. So you got a new character who came in. You got all these awesome intros that been experimenting with a whole heap of editing, narrowing it down to have a good concept, and construct, and order to keep things in a firm, locked control. Now, I know I use a lot of body language to emphasize, and that is what experimentation is. You're emphasizing on something. You want to achieve something, you experiment depending on what it is. Now, as you know, we did an experimental thing last year, and it failed. So this year, everything's coming back so we can push. And if we're pushed too far, pushed away our fans, then history repeats itself. But we've drawn in people, and that's another part of experimentation. You got writers and authors, they experiment with ideas, they sometimes say, they crack their minds because they're trying to develop a character. They're experimenting. It's like, okay, so this character comes from... No, they're not coming from... This character started at the... No. And that's why there's so many drafts of things. And that's why they say, back to the old drawing board. Because, if at first you don't succeed, you try again. And, we've talked about that a few times, talking... And generally, well, let's take film, for example. There's experimental directors, visionaries, and they usually get what they want. I'm going to talk about one of the best directors ever, and that's Stanley Kubrick. Okay. He was a genius. He was crazy. He drove Shelley Duvall mad. He brought a gun on set to one of his films. I think it was either Full Metal Jacket or maybe even Spartacus. But because he wanted a take, he wanted a certain scene done his way or there'd be no way. Yeah, he brought a gun, a revolver, on set and said, if we don't do this again, bang. He didn't kill anyone. He just drove people insane. And there's people say that he got the job to direct 2001: A Space Odyssey if he directed the moon landing. And then there's all the stuff in The Shining, like Room 237. It was changed from 127 or 137 because it takes 237 however long it takes to get to the moon, and the Apollo t-shirt and all that, and all these crazy, well, you could call them experimentations, like spiritual expectations. It's that crazy. And I'm talking about Kubrick, because he was crazy, he was a visionary, but he got the end result he wanted. He pushed people to the limits, pushed everyone else to the limits. So many takes. Then there's other takes which just take one take. Like Ed Wood. He was a one-trick pony. He wasn't a great director. He didn't really have all the knowledge, but he had the heart for his... I think I'm due to experiment with a new face. And that's another thing. Many faces, many changes, all through experiments. What works, you sell it. You stay with it. If it ends up running dry, you experiment, you try something else. Phases. We've talked about phases before. Evolution. If we didn't experiment with things, if we didn't have variety, if we were a one trick, one shot, one deal, that's a trifecta. See, you try to perfect the act, but if it doesn't work, cut it, burn the bridge, sever the ties, keep it in memory for a lesson, and you try again, and you experiment, and then you get everything working, like you Frankenstein it together. You take bits and pieces. But if you're good at what you do, and you don't have to experiment everything, you naturally, everything comes to you, then you got it. You just keep going. But if you lose that steam, if you get out of breath, then experiment a little bit. Don't burn yourself out. Don't overdo it, because that's what we felt like we've done. So things are back to regular basis now, because we've experimented, we got some points out, we did some hints of things, we got it done, now we're back regular action. And we're still bringing in the premium Triforce and all the G's to get more people, because we want push to get more views, more interaction. We've had that so far. This season, this revamped, re-energized season has been just as big as our third season, which arguably, you ask anyone who supported us from day one, and look what I found. You know how everything started. The original credit cards. Slips, This is the original title card. And then, way back from the very first season. And look how far we've come. This episode will have a closing credit. We haven't had a closing credit in one episode. Like, it's always at the end of the season, but this is experimentation, so we're experimenting, well, myself, because it's just me here. I'm going to be experimenting for this particular episode because it's about experimentation. So we got the opening, got the whole plot, and then a closing credit. Much like the end of the trailer, you'll see it. Like, we've had that, we've done trailers, we've experimented with trailers to bring back the captain. It worked. Did the trailer for the Valentine's Day special. So our experimentations have worked. We just got to get the numbers. We got to get the figures, because we've been figuring out how to make this season the best. And so far, the response has been really good. It's been interactive. Sure, it's been a bit silent and quiet, but things come back. Everything comes back. As you know, with last year, it failed. Again, I bring it up because it's part of the point. Experimented, it failed, gave it a go, and then things just fell right into our lap. So we're going to make the best of it. We're going to make the most of this season, and this episode is an experiment. And I'm so expressive, because that's what experimentation is. Express yourself. Be you. Another part of experimentation, I want to see someone else out there take the role of me. I want to do that experiment. See who can keep this alive. And just see who else. Part of the experimentation. So there's going to be another experiment. You saw the epic. It was an epic fail. It was an experiment. It didn't work. This is the second experiment. Okay, there's nothing to show, but you saw the credits. We used to open like this. We got fully animated credits thanks to iMovie. Again, thank you, Sue Dell, for introducing us, the team, wherever they are, to that. Editing, you edit, experiment, everything, and you get it. We're here, and look how far we've come from these to what you're about to see. So, hopefully we haven't scared too many people away. It's just naturally, I don't intend to scare, but it's just in my nature. So we want to scare people to us. We want to scare the numbers up high. We want to scare the people in. So that's going to be experiment number 3, which will have the project. And cost call, if you know anyone, people in Melbourne, Australia, if you've got the money to make a trip from overseas to be part of the 3rd act, the final big experiment, this isn't as epic, but we've got a closing credit. And then the 3rd final experiment is going to be a doozy. So, if you want to be a part of this experiment, come in. Because myself, Wolfie, SJ sleeping, the captain will be there, probably drunk, and frantic. Then you're not sure about past characters, but that's the whole part of experimentation. It's like a band. You have the original member, which was me, original producer. You may remember him, may have forgotten. Tim, his name was. Again, got up to halfway of season 2. Then we got Stu Man in. Then we got Spruce in and narrator. And then they went, and now we got new characters. So all part of experimentation. And then evolution. If you stay onto the one thing, you won't grow. You'll be the same, and people will leave you. So if you experiment, variety, spice of life, we're brought back to life. We're brought back, and I'm gonna go and have a rest because I've expressed everything that I hope there has been. So I'll scare you later if it is me, and we'll see you, and you'll see us with the next experiment. So stay tuned for the final experimentation. And as I always say, as I said, and I'll say it again, scare you later. Scare you later. That's it. See? Experimentation.